Welcome to Sensitive Changemakers, the podcast where we celebrate the power of sensitivity and introversion in leadership, entrepreneurship, and beyond. I'm Kate Carter, your host, a certified professional coach, HSP, and introvert who is passionate about helping you embrace your unique gifts and lead with authenticity. This week, I'm so grateful to have a wonderful guest on, and I know that you are going to get so much from this. She is so honest, so open, and really you can tell just from listening to her that she has your best interests at heart. So do listen in, do enjoy, do reach out to her after you've listened, and I would love to know your takeaways. Hello, everyone, and I hope this episode finds you well. I am very, very excited to welcome our guest today, Caren Cooper. I love this name because it's like mine, Kate Carter. It feels like we've got a superpower. So I am so excited to welcome Caren Cooper. She is an empowerment and mindset coach who helps ambitious women, entrepreneurs, and corporate leaders overcome self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and self-sabotaging behaviors like people pleasing. Oh, I'm so looking forward to talking about that, and perfectionism. With a unique approach rooted in neuroscience, somatics, energetics, and trauma-informed practices, Caren guides her clients to silence their inner critic, rewrite disempowering narratives, and step into their true power. A former corporate professional turned entrepreneur, Caren is passionate about empowering women to embrace their fully expressed, authentic selves so they can confidently lead their businesses and lives with authenticity, alignment, and unapologetic confidence. Caren, I love this bit, is also a mum of two young adult children and is unabashed in her love of disco and corny jokes. And I love this because every week you do some dancing, don't you, online?
I know. Every week it's called Friday Dance Party, and I just literally dance to a weird song online with some weird glasses. That's
I,
what it is.
I love it. And people love it, don't they? Because they just feel like they can relate to you, connect with you.
Yeah, and the truth, I feel like people can, yeah, it's real, it's authentic, and people can relate. And you know what? Dancing is also great movement. Like it's a really great actual movement in terms of it's really great in terms of helping you connect to your body and things like that. So it's like an added bonus.
Yes, and you were talking there about the trauma informed. Sorry, going straight into it here, but you were talking in the bio about your trauma informed practices, and that's a huge part when I did my trauma informed training, isn't it? Just moving the body, and dance is a lovely way of doing that, of actually
Yes,
expressing all of that kind of sometimes pent up emotions and things that we're not fully expressing in our body.
exactly. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Ah, I love it. So I know if you don't know Karen, we will share her links at the end, and please do go and check her out. She, I think, is a unique energy in this world. I love her to bits. And I know that you've got a really rich background. Can you just kind of give us a brief intro as to how you got to where you are right now?
Sure. And thank you. I received that. Thank you very much. I did the normal, I'm from New York, if you can't tell. So it's the normal, you go to school, you get a job. And I'm Gen X. So, I'm 56 years old. So that was the thing. You go to school, you get a job. That was it. You know what I'm saying? And I did that. And I worked in the advertising industry and I started it in the early 90s when the liquid 80s had, moved over. So we worked hard and played hard and it was fun. It was hard work, but it was also a lot of fun. And I did that for I don't know, 91 to 20, however many years that is. And I met my ex-husband in the industry, fun fact. I had my children, and that's actually was the impetus of change for me when I got pregnant with my daughter, who's now 23. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I kept going because that's all I knew. And so, long story short, in 2015, I started a journey in health and wellness with a network marketing company. And so I was doing that on the side. I was still working in corporate, but doing that on the side. And then in 2018, I lost my job as I was turning 50. And that sent me into like a tailspin because I didn't know what I was doing and who I was and whatnot. Still didn't take it as a sign from the universe to perhaps pursue something different. It ended up just being a miserable experience. I found a freelance position at NBC in the summer of 2019 that went through the March 31st of 2020. In January of 2020, we saw that project was dying. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then in March if 2 weeks before my contract ended, the pandemic hit.
Wow.
So I took that as the sign to maybe perhaps, get my ass in gear and be an entrepreneur. So that's what I did. So I said, I'm not doing, corporate anymore. And so I was doing isogenics full time. And then about 6 months or a year later, I was like, I have no idea who I am or what I'm doing. I was
Hmm.
like completely and utterly lost. And at that time, I was doing surface level personal development, watching YouTube videos and reading books and that kind of a thing. And that was awesome. But I also knew intuitively that I was the problem. And I was like running on this never ending hamster wheel, doing the same thing over and over again, not generating any more success than I had already had. And I just knew that I needed to figure out what was going on with me inside. And my mentor Tracy Litch showed up on a serendipitously showed up on a call, and she cursed. It was from Jersey. I'm like, sold. And so I'm a student of the work because I curse. It's my favorite thing. But I started doing her work, the inner work with her, and kicking and screaming and not even a lie about it, scared to death spending that kind of money. And so I'm a student. I was a student first, and now I'm the teacher.
Yeah. And what do you think, and this is going to be such a difficult question to answer, I think, but what do you think you gained from that inner work? Like, what were the big aha moments for you? Or was it a slow realization?
Very slow because I went in kicking and screaming. To be
Mm,
perfectly transparent, I was not prepared for how deep it really is, and letting go. And I played the victim card really, really well and held on to that big time. Like I couldn't win an award. So it was an interesting transition for me. But the biggest transition was that my ex-husband is my husband is no longer my husband. That was the biggest thing, was that our marriage was not wonderful for quite some time, and neither one of us quite frankly had balls to end it. And doing the inner work made me understand who I was. I was people pleasing, I was codependent, I was controlling, I was incredibly insecure. I was the epitome of I'm fine but dying on the inside. That's who I used to be. And so that was the biggest aha, was wait a minute, I'm not I am more than enough, and I am deserving and worth. Like I never felt like enough, and I never felt worthy.
hmm.
I really didn't. Everybody thought I was fabulous except me.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And so those were the things that I was like, wait a minute, maybe I am fabulous. And maybe I can own the fabulousness. So that ending my marriage made me understand. And also it wasn't and ending my marriage in a way of being, I'm like, we have kids together, so I don't ever, you know what I mean? We're not assholes to each other. And that was a
Mhm.
big, and asking for what I wanted in that respect. So those were like the biggest aha moments, was, and then also honestly, it was like, wait a minute, at the time I was like, my health and wellness clients this would be so useful for
Mm,
my health and wellness clients. And then I realized it was really bigger than myself.
yes.
And that's when I decided, wait a minute, I need to now teach this to, like, you know, the world.
Such a good story. And also, I think so relatable. I can think of quite a few people, not in my business kind of circle, but in my personal circle, of people that are so unbelievably unhappy, but are petrified of almost like lifting the plaster, if
Yeah.
you can use that metaphor, that analogy, like lifting it up to actually look at what's underneath.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a, do you know what? No, I'd rather just wear the plaster.
100%, because we're so, what I've learned, right, is we're so used to, we're actually addicted to the chaos, and we're addicted to those emotions and those feelings, right? So the suffering, which is optional, but you know what I mean? Like I said, I played the victim card really well. So the self-doubt, all of that was embedded
Mm,
and hardwired big time.
yeah.
And it's way easier to stay there because it's comfortable and it's what we know.
Hmm.
Stepping away from that and into the unknown, and this is what I teach, is actually not terrible. You know what I mean? We're so scared of it, and fear is really to be welcomed, because of
Mm,
course it's going to be scary, because we're doing something completely different than we've done before, and our bodies are hardwired for survival. So
yes.
they think things we're in danger when we're doing something that we've never done before. So to understand that, and that's what I intuitively understood. That was, like, to your point, going back to the aha moment. I didn't realize I was in survival mode. Like I didn't know that's what it was called, but I just knew that like the way I was living, I couldn't live anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So many things there that I want to pull up on. I think survival mode, how many people live in it and don't realize? Like, I think it's a big number, a huge number of people that are just surviving day to day.
Yes.
The other thing that really interests me that you were talking about there was the kind of more trauma side of things, of how, and I had this conversation with a client this week and was explaining to her that it's really tough to move into something unknown because whether you realize it or not, you're gaining something from what you're currently in. Like there is a comfort, there is something you are getting out of that. And that is a really tough pill to swallow. I remember when I realized that about my panic attacks and things like that, I hated them, hated having them. But actually, there was a part of me deep, deep down that I had to really kind of explore that took comfort from them because that's how I reacted to things. And it was actually safer for me to react in that way than to change my response or to work on changing my response into something else. So yeah, how do you work with people now in this? Because there's so much there that you do. So how do you kind of package that all together?
Uh, it's yeah, there is so much that I do, but it's over a 9 week course. So it's over a 9 week program that I work with people. It's called Unscrew Yourself. And it's really the overview is this. You come to me feeling not worthy, not enough. And something, the trauma that occurred, I also want, because you mentioned trauma. So I want to just hit on that for a second. The trauma that occurred is something that happened that we made meaning out of. Okay. So it could, so, so it could be like in my case, it was, I never felt seen or heard,
Mm.
right? So that was for me. So my trauma meant that I was, so that's why I decided I'm not enough and not worthy, which led to the people, led to all of that. I have clients in similar vein where, it's something happened to them, they need meaning out of it, and therefore I'm not enough in some way, shape, or form, which manifests into different things. Okay. So now you're doubting yourself. You're not showing up as you fully expressed self. You're shrinking and you're hiding, right? And so we take what's going on with you currently and understand the root cause of that. What the trauma, and it's just data. So it's not, we know we're going back and reliving it, but it's just data, right? What happened and all the things. And then we understand what you're thinking now. And then and I do inner child healing in there as well. And we do somatic work and connection to your body and nervous system regulation and all these types of things as well. And then we start rewiring and reprogramming at the subconscious level. And so, and we also, your whole perception is different. So anything that you were thinking about and doing and all the things that you were worried about before completely are different and completely change, right? And we hugely different perception on fear. And at the end of the program, and you also get coaching with me as well, you are completely different. You're showing up as you fully express self. You're confident. You're feeling more like true to who you are for real. And really, it's an identity evolution process. Really, though, it's who you were before the limiting beliefs and self-doubt and all the crap that happened to you. That's the process in which I take people through.
I love that. And the identity piece, I think, is a piece that often gets overlooked. I don't know if you've ever read Atomic Habits.
Yes.
There's a part in there that I love and it's always stuck with me, which is, and I'm going to crucify the way that he says it, but the crux of it is that there are two people that are trying to quit smoking and they both get offered a cigarette and one says, "No, I'm not a smoker," and the other one says, "No, I'm trying to quit." And he said the power of identity, of actually identifying as somebody
Mhm.
who doesn't smoke any longer, is what actually supports the change. So
Yes,
I love that.
because you're actively becoming a new person. Okay. I am a non-smoker. But I can resonate with the I trying to quit. But you know what? I didn't, I actually quit. And then I said, I say I haven't smoked. But that's interesting. That's interesting analogy. But the thing is, it's the embodiment to your
Mhm.
point. You are actively letting go of who you were you're unbecoming to become.
Yes.
Okay. And there is a grieving process, of course, of letting
Mhm.
go and all that stuff. But the embodiment, that's what I also talk about and teach with others, is the embodiment of your future self or your higher self, whatever you want to call it, your new identity now.
Mm-hmm.
How does she walk? We do something in the very beginning of the program. We do creating, it's a vision. So we do 1 year from now vision where we connect with her 85-year-old selves, and then we write a she manifesto. And it's really all about how does she walk? How does she act? What does she say? What does she do? What is all of that? So the embodiment of that person now.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I think it's such an important piece. I do something similar, not quite as detailed as you. And I know one of mine, you were talking earlier about things that you subconsciously were craving or you subconsciously knew, but you didn't consciously know, like your body and brain were moving towards something, but you weren't sure what. I remember when I first was on the journey, 2000, mine was started in around about 2016, 2017. And I remember all I wanted to do was slow down. I remember my body just going, Kate, you just want to slow down. I was like, well, I don't. And then I'd get this fidgety thing like, oh, and here I am clicking my fingers because I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, don't like this. I tried yoga and I got frustrated with standing in the same pose. I was like, I hate this. I hate it. But it was actually that. And when I did that exercise of like the future version of myself, she spoke slower and she moved slower. I do embody that in practically every day, unless I catch myself unawares, which I still do every so often. But I do like almost like take a breath and go and slow down.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, the hustle culture, that could be a whole other conversation.
Hmm.
But yeah, we were 100%, hustle, 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 move, move, move. And in survival mode, especially. And,
Mm,
we had to keep going because then we'd be in our thoughts and then we'd be in an emotion. And
absolutely.
then
And
what
that's
would
too
we do
scary.
then?
Yeah.
Right.
And also the other part that you were talking about there, and I'd be really intrigued as to how you support your clients through this, is the fear and, like you were saying, the grieving process of letting go of a part of you that you've kind of been for so long. So if we give a concrete example here of me, letting go of the panic attack side of Kate, like the anxious side of Kate, who was too scared to do most things. Who am I becoming? What's left? If I that goes, what's left? And that kind of transition from letting go to moving into, and I know you do the vision to support, but how do you actually support that transition?
Inner child healing. Part of
Yay.
it is inner child healing. Honestly, part of it is inner child is our thoughts, it's our beliefs, and that kind of a thing is part of it. And then inner child healing is also 100% part of it. So we go back and have a conversation. We do an inner child healing meditation where we go back and talk to your little girl and have conversation because you were talking to your future self because your little girl is the person she became that person that became the adult to do all the things, right? So it's having the conversation with her and going back to her and letting her know that she's loved and she's seen and and healing her, and working on healing her and therefore and then feeling the feelings. And then we feel the feelings until they need to be felt.
Hmm.
So it's feeling all those feelings of whatever's coming up for you, and then connecting, and then connection to the body is a big proposal. All these are proponents of what we do
Hmm.
because you're gonna cry, cry. You're gonna want to beat the shit out of something. Like just you're gonna want to do that. So, like, if you can't go to a rage room, which, by the way, highly recommend, I have a wiffle ball bat and like a bag of clothes and like I have things that I can hit in my garage, like you know what I mean, or punch a pillow or things like that. So it's really that's where the somatic work comes in, movement of connection to the body, meditation, that kind of a thing, because that's how you're actively going to heal
Hmm. Yes.
is by doing all of those things. And most importantly, sitting in the shit,
Yes.
sitting in the emotion, slowing down enough to just sit with them. Journaling is a good thing. Am I allowed to say the F word?
Absolutely.
Writing fuck you letters is another way. And you don't send them, fun fact, you don't send them. Just letting you know now, stuff like that. But it's like getting it out in some way, shape, or form. However it comes out. And I'm saying all this, it's not like each person does all of this, right? We do the
Hmm.
inner child healing, we do the somatic work, but like the fuck you, it may be that you need to do a fuck you letter, maybe you don't. And then it's a gratitude letter afterwards. So it's like all stuff like that we do in order of which to how do you let go and surrender, and embrace the unknown. And then fear is a lot going on with fear that we talk about in the end, but it's really dancing with fear and welcoming fear and actually instead of repelling the resistance and the fear and all the things that are coming up for you, actively loving it
Hmm.
and welcoming it and enjoying. And we do celebrations too. You celebrate yourself, girl. You gotta celebrate yourself. So all that, like that's all part of what we do.
And just that inner child, because I do think this is something that I love, and I don't know a huge amount about it. I do know the kind of the foundation parts, and I have done some work on it, but I would love to know your take. What is it about inner child work that really supports this kind of work?
Because I'm going to be fully transparent here. Like I'm not a scientist, and I'm like you. I'm more upfront about that. What I do know is this. Okay, and even people I follow on social media, like psychologists, talk about this. You had to be a certain way
Hmm.
because of the trauma that occurred, and because you were that certain way, you became the, like I said before, you became the adult, right?
Hmm.
So how do you heal? Is you have to go back to who you were and that little girl. So where basically the root started, in
Mm.
essence, and talk to her and have conversations with her and love her. And this could be done at any point. I literally did one this morning. So I went onto YouTube and I did an inner child healing. But like things have come up for me as you're peeling the layers of the onion, right? Because you're always healing, growing, and expanding. I love you, but this is the real truth. It doesn't end.
Hmm.
Triggers come up, things come up, and you're just like, wait a minute. Oh, I reckon, and you become aware. And I'm like, and then today I was like, oh wow, this is coming up, because of not feeling seen and heard again. Let me go
Hmm.
back and talk to the little girl, let her know she's safe, let her know that it's okay, let her know that I love her. She did the best she could with what she had, and then bring her
Yes.
along for the ride. And that's what we do. So it's just important to have that conversation. I will say two things about this as well. Mainstream media, if you so to speak, is becoming more prevalent with this. And there are two examples of this. Here in the States, there was a show, they canceled it. Not going to get into how annoyed I am, but anyway, called Station 19. And in the program, one of the firefighters um, was having all these issues, and it turns out it was because of things that happened to her as a little girl. And they actually had an arc about the fact that it happened as a little girl and whatnot. And there was actually a scene with her where with her therapist, and she's like, go talk to your little girl. And they showed her holding her little girl,
Oh.
like in the episode. It was unbelievable. And then actually I'm gonna say three things. Second thing is, if you watch Wicked, to watch the movie Wicked, and by the way, when Kate and I think when you and I talked, I said this
Yeah.
too. I said, if you watch Wicked and Cynthia Erivo is singing Defying Gravity, and at one point her little girl comes up, she's like falling down from the sky, and her little girl comes up and she's looking at the little girl who's ostracized for being green, and then all of a sudden she's like, it's me, and rises up. Like that's another way. And then Ariana Grande, when she was nominated for her Oscar for Wicked, and she followed her on Instagram, she posted a picture of herself with her dress from like the Wizard of Oz, like Judy Garland wore in the Wizard of Oz, and literally wrote a little letter to, little Ari, who was like, oh my God, singing Wizard of Oz at 10 years old. And now, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's trauma, but it's all these things we did as children that manifest into adulthood. So
Yeah.
it's important to go back to her and have those conversations with her.
Yeah, literally got shivers down my spine as she was talking about some of those. I was like, well, it's powerful stuff, isn't it? The thing that comes up for me there as you're talking about that is one of the ways that this can present in adulthood is through people pleasing. And I know
Yep.
that's something that you really help people with. So when somebody comes to you with people pleasing tendencies, where do you what's your entry point with them, and how do you kind of support them with that?
It lends back to the going back to the root cause. So
Mm,
what happened that made you be the way you are? That's the impetus, how I work with people. What happened that made you be, oh, so this happened to you, so you became people, that was your we call it adaptive behaviors. So,
yes.
oh, that happened, so you became a people pleaser. And by the way, fun fact, like somebody you may not know, you're a people pleaser. I didn't know that was a term, but so I'll just tell you, it's when you do literally everything for everybody else except yourself.
Yep.
That's it. Okay. So I was the epitome of that, right? And I was burning out big time and I
Mhm.
was pissed
Yeah.
because I wasn't doing anything for me. And so it's really, and there's no shame. So I also work with people like, by the way, there's no shame in any of this, but you were
Mm.
doing so for everybody else but yourself for so long. And by the way, that's okay. And I love you. Show yourself some compassion and let's understand why. And now let's not do that anymore. And
Mhm.
now let's put yourself first. Especially, I'm a mom. I have two kids. I
Yeah.
was a working mom that I wore like a badge of honor, and I was like, I can get shit done. And I
Mhm.
had such guilt and I had such mishigat, all the things. And I was 100% putting everybody else's needs above my own. Guess what? When I finally started in a way, like I'm like, nope, mom's got to work out, mom's going to do this. I was happier. I was screaming less, and my kids were happier
Absolutely.
especially when they were younger.
Yeah.
So, like, it's really no, it's okay that this is what happened. You're whole enough as you are. Let's now untether all of that.
Mm.
It's the untethering. It's that's it. And I know it sounds simple, and it kind of is. Like we think it's but it is there. Listen, is it easy? No. Is it worth it? 100%.
How do you get to that point where you can actually find out their root cause, if you like? Is it through questioning? Is it through how do you get there?
It's what questions meditation. So I do, there's meditations that are involved. And it's really a lot of neuroscience. There's neuroscience involved. So it's a
Hmm.
lot of questions. There's a lot of questions and beliefs. So what did you believe to
Mm.
be about yourself, right? What did you believe? So like I believed, and it's really what was your home life like? So it's really going back and asking a lot of questions and excavating data. Like it's excavating. So it's asking questions and going through your past, literally, and what happened and what's going on. So you understand. And it's like, oh wait, did you ever think, oh wait, when I get this, I'm going to feel this?
Mm.
Those types of things, conditional happiness, like call it and
Yes.
whatnot. And so that's how it's a lot of questions, it's a lot of excavation and
Mm.
a lot of understanding.
Yeah. And it feels like you really do hold that compassionate space of just like love.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like, it's absolutely fine. Bring everything with you, and I will
yeah.
just hold that loving space for you to explore, to navigate, to excavate until we get to what we need to.
The loving space, and I also call you out on your shit. Like
Yes.
in the same respect, you know what I'm saying? Like the same thing. Because it's also like sometimes we get comfortable. We almost like get, no, I'm going to take this course, I'm going to do this because you know what I mean? It's like you can't see the resistance coming up and things like that. So it's like, okay, no, it's you when you know better, you do better, right? And
Hmm.
it's like you call you out in a loving way. Of course, there's no shame, because shame is just shame holds you down and it
Hmm.
limits you, and the guilt and all that things, and it's really self-imposed. And really in the worry and all these things, there's two states of being, disempowering and empowering. And I have a whole picture, like I have a whole chart on this, an emotional vibrational chart that we go through. And we talked about how many hours are you in worry, how many hours are you in shame, how many hours are you in these disempowering states. Okay, guess what, you can be an empowering, we can, and because it's a choice, but we
Yes.
don't realize that we have that choice because we're
Yeah.
so used to being in the shit.
Yeah. And what it's just automated, isn't it? It's just living like somebody always, I can't remember who said it, but he used to say that it was like the old type of cassettes. It was like playing a cassette and just letting it play out. Yeah, and I can't remember who said it. It'll come to me later. But the whole idea was that you can't change it unless you stop that cassette
Right,
player.
exactly, exactly.
I would love to know, like, how can people find you? How can they see your dancing on Fridays? Um, and how can they kind of connect with you moving forward?
I am on the socials. I am on all the socials. I am Caren. So, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are my three main avenues. And so Facebook and LinkedIn, it's Caren Cooper, Caren. Fun fact. Fun side note fact, like back in the days of yore, there was fax machines still. And I always had, sometimes I didn't spell my first name because it's like whatever. But like, I would say Cooper, I would say Caren Cooper. And I'm from New York, so you can't really hear the ERs at the end. So I would get faxes with Coopa. I'm not even lying to you.
Oh wow.
Um, so I so okay, so my name. is Caren, Caren, last name Cooper, Cooper, on both LinkedIn and Facebook, and just add an underscore on LinkedIn. So it's Caren Cooper underscore. On Instagram, I'm sorry. On Instagram, it's Caren Cooper underscore. LinkedIn and Facebook is Caren Cooper.
Yes. And where do you do the dancing?
Um, Facebook and LinkedIn. So really, yeah, Instagram has it just blocked me. So
Oh,
I don't do them on Instagram anymore. So Facebook and LinkedIn is where I do them. So if you want to see me doing the Friday dance parties, 100% follow me, connect with me on Facebook and LinkedIn. And by the way, when you do connect with me, I'd love it if you can tell me that that you heard me from here. This way I know that's where it's
yes.
coming.
Yeah, that's always useful data. It really is. And one of my last questions is, I know that you offer your package that you've just been beautifully describing here. What is that called again?
Oh, my course, unscrew
Mhm.
yourself.
I love it. I just wanted to say it one more time. And also, I know you're doing some exciting things with different people. Do you want to just kind of hit on that one as well?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I am so if you're in the New York, New Jersey area, I am collaborating with my friend Sarah and my friend Ella. We are creating something called Vision to Action. So what it is on February 11th, we are having a vision board party kickoff. And it's really what happens after you do the vision board, right? And I've done this too. You create a vision board, you look at it, and that's great, but it's like, and then what? Right. So we're creating a community, a year-long community of people coming together to be accountable, to really get our shit together and
Mm,
reach our goals. And we're going to have master classes, and we're going to, I'll be, doing stuff in there as well. And it's really just about creating this amazing container and this amazing community of people who are just entrepreneurs, leaders, business owners who are just like, you know what, yeah, because it's January like 80. Well, now it's really the end of January, but like
it
it felt
is.
like it was January like 90th, like 2 weeks ago. And like
Absolutely.
how many of you, and think about it even now, like how many of you had made resolutions and had said I was going to do things and then it wanes off. But it's also a matter of that you don't have accountability. Like so sometimes it's resistance and sometimes it's that's part of it where again going back to your body not doing doing things differently, but it's also you're not, as someone who's a solopreneur, if you're an entrepreneur and doing a lot of things on your own,
Mm,
it's sometimes easy not to hold the word to yourself, right?
yeah.
And having accountability and having a community that fosters. I've been a part of amazing communities, so I can speak to this 100. Even Kate has amazing community herself,
Oh,
right? And but it's an environment where you feel safe, you can speak whatever you want to say and know that it's safe and you feel safe to say what you want to say, and you're getting what you need in terms of goals and accountability and being honest and help because there's no shame in asking for help and no shame in having help and not doing it with other people. So
yeah.
that's what I'm doing. So if you have any questions or anything about that, you can absolutely ask me and I'll be more than happy to
Yeah.
share.
And my last question, which is going to be a bit of a bizarre one, going back a little bit deeper, is this is something I saw today and I'd love to get your take on it, is you don't have to be fully healed to have success or to see success. What's your take on this? How do you feel about that?
I'm obsessed with the fact that you just said that. No, because I feel like we think success means when I get X, I'll feel a certain way.
Mhm.
And that leads to conditional happiness. And um Kathy Heller, who's unbelievable, talks about energy and frequency a lot. And I do too, and we talk about feelings. And what she talks about is really being in flow.
Mm,
And then when you're in flow, how do you feel? And she's like your radio dial, right? If
yeah.
in the old days when you had to like find a radio station and you found one and you were vibrating high. And she talks about being in the flow. And she just did a 21-day challenge and she had to say, what do we want? And she had to draw a circle and put in what we wanted in the circle. And then she was like, okay. And now she's like a sun. So like draw lines, like make it like a sun, and how we feel when we get that. And so we wrote how we feel, right? And she's like, why can't you feel that now?
Mm,
And I was like, and I do this work. So this is why it's always nice to, be a
yes.
student too. I'm like, oh my God. And I wrote like we call it guiding life feeling. So I wrote GLF down when she did this. I literally wrote GLF down. I was like, oh my God, we can choose how we want to feel. Success means I have a lot of money and I have the freedom to do what you want when you want, and you have the life that you desire. And that's phenomenal. But really, success is those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It's the wind in your hair, right? She was talking, this is Kathy, I was talking about this even yesterday. It's really those feelings that is the success. The success is celebrating yourself
Mm-hmm.
when you got something. The success is doing it day in and day out. That's what success is you embodying you do it yourself. Success is showing up. So it's not when I reach something I'm going to be whatever. Success is a daily practice, really.
Yeah. It's so, so true. And it really reminds me again of a book. So good at this. It's called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker, if you haven't read it. And it's basically perfectly describing what you've just said there with research and studies and saying that loads of people think that you'll be happy when, and that actually it's the other way round. You have to feel it first and then you will
Right.
start to see it.
And I just want to add something, if I may. Also, it's external,
Mm.
right? So we're looking for external something to make us feel something.
Hmm.
And the funny thing is, I say this now all the time, and I'm just like, holy shit, I didn't realize it watching the movie and how many times I watched The Wizard of Oz, the original, when the Good Witch, like, you had the power all along.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, now it's really profound because we don't realize how much power we have within ourselves and that we can choose to actually be happy on purpose. And I would like to say this, and I'm going to say this because I feel that it's important to know, because I know other people have their own stuff going on in their lives that is very real and very heavy.
Yes.
I speak from experience.
I can well
Currently,
imagine.
even right now. Okay. I speak from experience currently, even right now, where the thing is your current circumstances don't dictate anything.
Mm.
Okay, you feel the feelings, you do all that with that, yes, but I can still choose to be happy on purpose because my current circumstances aren't going to be, they're going to be at some point a memory.
Mm.
So it's back to your future self. It's back to what would she do? It's back to embodying that. It always comes back to that. And that is success. Success is feeling the feelings about what's going on right in your life and doing what you got to do for it, and then dancing it out, connecting to your body and doing the somatic work like I did this morning, right?
Yep.
This is literally what I did. And then I found out I was going to be a speaker at a global event in September.
Wow,
Okay. And now
congratulations.
I'm doing this podcast. So my morning didn't start out great. And I was not in the flow at all. Not even close. But it's also what you focus on, you find lends to that too. So the success is, not overthinking, not being in your head, and and feeling the feelings, putting one foot in the other, front of the other, and moving forward.
Yeah,
That's where the success lies. It's always within, it's not external. Is it nice to have love? And it's 100%. But you are a powerful being. You are fabulous and wonderful as who you are. Show up as you. And believe you me when I tell you, believe me, you'll shine bright. Right? You're in your
absolutely.
sparkle, like my thing says up there.
I love it. And it goes with the whole dancing thing as well.
Yes, so that so I use disco, as you can see, and my logo is a disco ball with
Yes.
says Caren Cooper coaching, and then on the bottom it says shine bright, because
Yeah,
shine
I
bright like a
love it.
disco
It's so,
ball.
it's so, so true. And if somebody was listening to this and they were like, wow, Karen has just opened up a can of worms, I have no idea where to start. What would be like one, before they obviously went and connected with you and started working with you, the one step that they could do to kind of support them in this work, I suppose, because it's a, like you said, it's a lifelong process. But what could that one step
I
be?
mean, obviously I'd say book a discovery call with me, because I
Yeah.
do discovery calls first. So if you want to chat with me, chat with me. But if you're like, I'm too scared to call you right now, I would 100% say three people off the top of my head to follow that are amazing. Actually, four. I'm gonna give you four. People, podcast, or you can Google these people and follow them because they do mindset work and they're phenomenal at it. And that's what I would honestly say. I would honestly say, like, that's what I was doing first too. I was going onto YouTube and
Mm,
listening to, like, motivational speakers, and like I would like literally type in motivational speakers or motivational stuff like that. So like stuff like that. So 100% my mentor, Tracy Litt. I would say Kathy Heller is another one. She's amazing. Mel Robbins, unbelievable.
hmm
And then a fourth, and I'll give you a guy, Rob Dial, whose podcast is called The Mindset Mentor. So those are four people that I'd be like, okay, if you don't want, if you're like, I'm not ready yet to call Caren
hmm
and speak with her, even just a call. Those are people that I would absolutely follow, that 100% could help you at least uncover and understand and start you along your journey.
And this is what I absolutely love about Karen, the honesty and the just genuine drive to support people in that you would actually direct them away from you to other people first. Like, I love that.
I'm not for, you know what? The truth is, I'm number one, I'm not for everybody. That's the truth. And I love this. Kathy Heller did this too on her 21-day challenge when she was inviting people to her, to work with her. She's like, if I'm not for you, that's okay.
hmm
And I think it's selfish. I think that's the word that came up. I'm not for everybody. It's the other thing, like if you want to also follow me, like I'm going to be doing a workshop, one on fear, probably in March sometime. So that'll be free. 100% listen to those people and follow those people. But in the end, there is guidance that is required, in my personal opinion,
I
in
agree.
order to really help God, to help you. It's doing it alone isn't going to serve you at all.
hmm
So so that's where I would come in, Kate, other coaches and whatnot. But what I will say about that is I was petrified. Like, so when it was like, oh crap, I really need to do this, and the cost of it,
Mm.
I was like, it was the most money I had ever spent on myself. And honestly, I thought of it this morning. I'm like, wait a minute, I spent so much money on cigarettes. Like, God knows, it was probably way
Yeah.
more than $5,000 total between the ages of 16 to 42. But long story short, it was like, but I knew I had to do it. And
hmm
so I did it. And so that fear is going to be omnipresent. But if the willingness is there, then that takes precedence over the
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
So that's what I will just say. Your trajectory is your own trajectory, but I just want to let you know that it's important to know that when you're at that point of, wait a minute, these people are amazing and they're wonderful, but I know I need more.
hmm
I implore you to and just say, go find a coach that will be a benefit for you and
Yeah.
work with you
Yeah.
and that drives with you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like that right fit is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I know that on a slight tangent, I know you don't resonate with being highly sensitive, but you do resonate as being an introvert, don't you?
I used to think I was an extrovert, and then the pandemic happened. And then I was like, wait, I really kind of like being at home.
Yeah.
Um, you know what? I do in a way resonate with being more of an introvert. I guess I'm an extrovert introvert. I'm like both.
Yeah.
What I have realized though is because I'm like, I don't have a problem going, like, I don't have a problem speaking in front of people and
hmm
and that kind of a thing. But I'm also like, I can be shy,
Mm.
ironically, in some instances. And I just got curious as to why.
Yeah.
And what, and then it was okay. But who am I serving by being like that? Right.
hmm
So that's where I would go also. Like, it's okay. Listen, if you don't want to go somewhere because it's truly like not for you, and that's happened sometimes. I'm like, I just don't freaking, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Then you don't. And there's no shame and there's no harm. But if you're like, I don't know, it would be good for me to go, but
hmm
then when you go
Yeah.
and you get curious as to why, right? And it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and give yourself grace. And what I mean is, hold yourself accountable in that respect. Your intention is to do this, so do your intention. And if that's all you do, and then you walk away, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I love that. I call it my bare minimum. Like if I do that, that's great. Because, I'm sure you're the same. Work with a lot of people who have incredibly high expectations of themselves. And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
let's just look at that.
right. Because and it's where the thing is, like, is where is it all coming from? It's
hmm
like, it's really, again, it's all data.
Yes.
And it's curiosity. It's really like asking yourself, and it's the five whys. I'm reading Let Them Terry by Mel
Yes.
Robbins. But I knew of the five whys anyway before that. It's like why, it's just keep asking yourself why five
hmm
times.
Yes.
And you get to like really the root of it, the real truth of it.
Yeah. I
And
do
it's,
that with clients. It's such a
yeah,
good exercise.
yeah,
Such a good one. I call it the fear inventory, but yeah, it is like, and what would that mean? Why? What would that
right,
mean? And then why? And it's amazing when you get to it and you think, wow, that's it.
right.
That's what's
And
really
nine times
bothering
out of
you.
10 is not the answer they gave you in the first place.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
And it's deeper than that. And that's
Yes.
okay. You know what I mean? And that's when it's really like, oh, wait, oh, I got
Mhm.
it. You know what I mean? And that's where the awareness comes in. And when you are aware of something, you can make the
Yes.
changes. When you're not
Absolutely.
aware of it, you can't make any of the changes.
You haven't got a clue, have you?
Yeah.
And I love that. The last thing I will say, I think you've said it a couple of times, and I think it's so key, is curiosity.
Mhm.
That was such a big shift in my personal journey, was shifting from blame, from beating myself up to let's just get curious as to why this is going on. Oh, isn't it
Yeah.
interesting that it was that kind of language? That's why I'm obsessed with language. But it was the shifts there. So I love that, and I really just wanted to bring that to the forefront. Anybody listening, curiosity is such a powerful tool.
And you just said the words that I use as well. Isn't it interesting?
Mm. I'm absolutely obsessed with language.
Yeah.
Just generally, I mean, I do speak different languages as well, but I just love language and how it can, that awareness around how you're using it can shift
Yeah. Because
everything.
that lends to how we speak to, well, part of
Mhm.
it is also how we speak to one another,
Mhm.
not one another, but even one another and ourselves, which
Yes.
is, the language involved. Language is a big part of what I do as well, and words have
Yeah,
power.
absolutely. It's been such an eye-opening conversation and everything. I'm like, yes, 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 Karen. So it's been such a good conversation. Is there anything you would like to add before we wrap up?
I would like to just tell you all that you are whole and enough as you are.
Beautiful.
I really, and that you are worthy and deserving of everything that you ever dreamed of.
Oh, thank you. Again, shivers. I think that's absolutely such a beautiful sentiment to end on and so, so true. Thank you so much for joining us. And guys, please go and check Karen out. Go and watch the dancing. Go and get that discovery call and just go and show us some love. Thank you
Thank
so much.
thank you. This was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I'll be back next week with another episode. See you soon, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you have any takeaways or any questions, please do reach out to me either through Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook at Kate Carter Coaching, or you can email me at kate@katecarter.co.uk. I always love to hear your feedback and the things that you have taken from the podcast. If you know of any other highly sensitive people, then please do share this so that I can reach more and support more highly sensitive people to embrace their strengths and gifts. As a thank you, I will pick a winner every month for a free 15-minute coaching session with me. Thank you so, so much.